You can use Intune to monitor your devices, your enrolled devices. In Devices, select Monitor. Then you can choose to review the following information. The configuration. So you can access reports on the assignment status and failures, devices with any restricted apps. You can review certificates and a report on the device's encryption state. With the compliance option, you can review reports on non-compliant devices, devices that don't have a compliance policy, the settings compliance, policy compliance, the non-compliant policies, Windows Health Attestation reports, and threat agent status. Under Enrollment, you can review reports on autopilot deployments, enrollment failures, and incomplete user enrollments. Software Updates allows you to review reports on a per-update ring deployment state, installation failures for iOS, and feature update failures. Under the Other node, you can review reports on device actions performed by administrators. There are a number of actions that you can perform on your devices, which we've covered in earlier sessions. Just for your review, you can retire, wipe, delete, remote lock, sync, reset the passcode, restart, perform a fresh start, or an autopilot reset on your devices. Obviously, the options available vary based on operating system and device state. So an autopilot reset is not available for a device that's not enrolled in autopilot. In addition, you can perform quick scans, full scans, update Windows Defender Security Intelligence, perform BitLocker key rotation, rename the device, and if remote help is configured in your tenant, you can perform a new remote assistance session, and if necessary, locate the device. As I said, we've touched on this earlier on in the course, so this is just for completeness. Under the Monitor heading, you can take a look at device actions, and you can see a list of the actions that your administrators have performed. In this example, you can see quick scans, restarts, rename of devices, remote locks, and so on. You can also see the state. Sometimes they're marked as complete, sometimes they're pending, and sometimes there may be a problem with them. Under the audit logs, under Tenant Admin, you can also review specific details of activities that have been performed. For example, you've got at the very top of the list here on 14th of March, the admin performed a Microsoft Intune portal driven Windows Defender scan on a particular device. A bit further down, you can see that the administrator performed a Reboot Now activity and a remote lock and a sync device as we work our way down. The third from the bottom here, we've got sending a custom notification. That's probably to an iOS device because that's one of the supported actions you can perform. So you've got quite a lot of information here under the audit logs as well. Windows Health Attestation, you may remember, is the statement that Windows can make about how healthy or otherwise it is. You can use this feature in Intune to review the health status of your enrolled Windows devices. You can check on the following: BitLocker status, code integrity, early launch malware, boot debugging, secure boot, data execution prevention policy, virtual security mode, and boot manager version. Intune Admin Center also enables you to review the threat agent status of your devices. This will provide information about pending security intelligence updates, pending full scans, pending restarts, pending manual steps, pending offline scans, critical failures, and inactive threat agents, and unknown threat agents, and the status of the device being clean. In the demonstration, we'll review the options for monitoring devices. So under Devices, if you select Monitor, you can review configuration, compliance, enrollment, software updates, and other activities. Let's take a look at some of this. So under Assignment Status, under the Configuration heading, we can see the configuration profiles, and we can get information about devices with errors or conflicts. So again, we know about the private store conflict. We see that indicated here. So we scroll across to see that there are 2 devices with conflicts. Also devices that are not applicable, devices succeeded, devices pending. So lots of information about that. Devices with restricted apps, not relevant here. An encryption report. So we can see that Contoso Adele, Windows operating system running Windows 10, has a TPM version 2. It's currently not encrypted, but is ready for encryption. Under compliance, we can take a look at non-compliant devices. We can have a look at setting compliance. So has a compliance policy. We've got one device, by the looks of it, is active. There are 4 devices. Enrolled users exist. Trusted platform module is present, and you can sort of get an overview of these details. It's obviously important to know about the firewall and the TPM because those are part of a compliance policy that we configured earlier. Windows Health Attestation Report. In this case, there are no devices found, so we'll move on. Autopilot deployments under enrollment. So we've got some user-driven Azure AD. The serial number is indicated here for the particular machine. We can see whose machine it is. We see which autopilot profile was used, what was successful and what failed. I'm not sure why that one failed. I guess I'd have to look into that. I probably abandoned it part of the way through during a training course or something. Any enrollment failures. So select a particular user. I doubt there'll be any, but let's choose Adele. Select, no, we haven't had any failures for her. But again, I've only got 2 or 3 devices, so I'm not surprised. I'm not seeing a lot of activity here. Although I've got software update rings configured, I haven't actually configured them to assign any updates to my devices. I like to control that manually in my demo environment, but you would typically expect to see some problems here in a large enterprise network. Let's take a look at per update ring deployment state. I've got a number of different deployment rings set up. We'll talk about Windows Update later in the course. But we can see that there's no information here because I've not configured any devices, the deployment ring to be assigned to any devices. Otherwise, you would expect to see some information. Finally, let's just take a quick look at device actions. So we can see the actions that have been performed lately on various devices and the state of those actions. So they all seem to have been successful. So I'm going to take a look at the audit logs as well. So if I go to Tenant Administration, scroll down and select Audit Logs. So I can see I've got Create Device Configuration, iOS Wi-Fi is configured here. I've got deployment of applications. So if I look at a particular event here, I get more detail. So it's telling me exactly what it's doing. So in this instance, I'm looking at this event here, Create Device Compliance, Contoso Global Compliance, and that's telling me exactly what the activity was. So it's creating a compliance policy. Again, there's not a huge amount to review here because it's a demo tenant which is infrequently used, but it gives you a flavor of what's possible. In the demonstration, you learned how to monitor devices.